mini bands tonight and a slider. So if you have them, great. If you don't have them, alternatives would be like a TheraBand, and you're just going to tie it in a loop that's about that big. If you're on a hard surface, a tea towel or a face cloth works as a slider. If you're on a soft surface, paper plate works. I have like some IKEA resin plates, like plastic plates that are slippery, so that works like on a carpet. And you will feel the work and be able to scale it up and scale it down without those things as well. So don't fret if you don't have them. I'm going to top up my water and then we're going to get started. If you want to come to a comfortable seated and or supine, laying down position, we're going to start just with a body scan, but then also some breathing visualization stuff, and then we'll start moving. So while I grab my water, you can come down to the ground. Either find a comfortable sitting or a comfortable laying down position. And whichever position you decided to come into, just kind of shift your weight side to side, forward and back, and then let yourself kind of settle. And for the next few moments, we're just going to draw our attention to observing the inhalation. Just noticing where we feel the first kind of blush of that inhalation. Kind of the space we feel fill or change as the air moves in. And get curious just about the texture of the inhale. Is it thick or thin, smooth, rough? Does it feel full or empty? Start to observe all the qualities of your inhalation. And some of those things might even be wordless. And that's okay. And following your next breath in, you're going to let your attention follow that over to the exhalation. And we're just going to take a few moments and notice the qualities of the out breath. Again, does it feel thick or thin, full or empty? Notice all of the qualities of that out breath. Qualities, textures, temperature. And again, there may be things that have a wordless, there isn't a word for. And if the mind jumps ahead to trying to change it or assign a good or a bad stamp or a right or a wrong stamp. Just bring it back. Bring the mind back to the here and the now and simply note the quality of the exhale. And then you're going to let that go. Okay, I want us to imagine that the rib cage inside of it, or instead of the rib cage, is a paper lantern. Okay, and that three-dimensional shape, those paper lanterns that they'll put a flame in and they will float up and get carried on the air current. So I'm going to imagine that your rib cage is one of these paper lanterns. And without making the breath deeper, I just want you to take the breath that is, and for the next few moments, focus on breathing three-dimensionally that paper lantern. So feel where your paper lantern right now is compressed or squished or shorter on one side than another side. And I want us to breathe top to bottom, that paper lantern. Side to side. And front to back. And the only task at hand is taking the breath in and the breath out that is, and filling that paper lantern three-dimensionally, circumferentially. And you might even notice a subtle sort of like lift or buoyancy in your breath. And just sort of notice what you notice. And again, bring your attention back to noticing the quality of your inhalation for the next few moments, the texture, and the quality of your exhalation. And just notice what's changed simply by taking a few moments to intend and pay attention to the breath in a very specific way with this image of breathing the paper lantern. Okay, and so this imagery is powerful. You likely all noticed a difference or a change in the breath. And so know that during your practice, if we're doing something, it's okay for you to visualize doing something. It's okay for you to come back to just paying attention to the breath. It's okay to do whatever you need to do in your practice tonight to get what you need. And I'm going to do my best to have this audio match the video, but the mic cut out after the word buoyancy a while ago. So the audio may not match the video verbatim. So just know that. But it felt like the thing that I had space to do rather than refilming the whole class. So here we are. Okay, so we're going to start to transition and move on to our back. Okay, have your slider handy. We're going to use it here. Just take a second to feel the weight of your body on the ground, the weight of your pelvis. So you're going to put the slider underneath your right foot. Depending on the shape of the slider or what you're using, try to have it so that the tripod of the foot, but most importantly the heel, is on that sliding object that you've got. Now you're going to think of reaching from behind the knees down to the heels, pressing into the floor, and then pulling from behind the knees to the pelvis to start to lift the hips off the ground. Just coming up into a bridge where the pelvis lifts, but we don't extend the spine. Okay, so just feel the back of the leg stuff kind of waking up, turning on here. And then you're going to lower yourself down. We're going to do that again. So lifting up, feeling the back of the leg stuff working, getting a little time under tension, and you're going to lower down. Okay, this next time we lift up and find that neural drive, we're going to start to add on. So lifting the hips, lowering them back down, lifting them again, and then pushing into that slider really firmly and starting to slide it out so that that right leg starts to straighten, but trying to keep the pelvis level here. So only slide out as far as you can maintain that push into both legs with extending one, and then you're going to draw it back. Okay, keep the hips lifted. Press into that slider, slide it out. Keep pressing, 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 pressing through both feet, both heels. Breathe. And you're going to draw it back. And then we're going to lower the hips. Okay, so you can keep the hips lowered as we slide it out and slide it back, or you can lift the hips again, and again we're going to slide it out. If you're feeling this more in the low back than in the back of the thigh and the butt stuff, imagine pushing the ceiling away like you're doing a push-up. And then you're going to draw that back in. We're going to do that again. Press through that heel, both feet pressing into the ground, back of the leg stuff working, reach it out. Pelvis stays steady and lower down. Okay, so a lot of work. Don't be surprised if get a cramp, or I remember the first time I tried these, my brain was like, there's no way you can slide that leg out. So do what you can. You can always stay with just keeping time under tension in those muscles. That's the important part. Don't worry about sliding out. You can explore sliding it out if that's available and sliding it back. Really working the back of the thigh stuff at some different ranges now. So maintaining that tension as the tissue length changes. Okay, that increases the demand. Lower the hips, take a break. You might rock the knees side to side. Might draw the knees into the belly or reach the legs up towards the ceiling or take them out long. Okay, just giving the back of the thigh stuff a break before we come again. Reaching from behind the knees, pulling from behind the knees to the pelvis, lift those hips. If you're feeling the low back, press the ceiling away. And then you're going to slide out that left leg. Really push down through both legs. Keep the pelvis lifted and steady. Literally 2 years ago, my brain said, there's no way you can do this. And then I was able to slide out, but I wasn't able to slide back in. So just be gentle with yourself. Draw it back in, pull, 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 and lower the hips down. Really working the back of the leg stuff. Okay, we're going to take the slider back over underneath the right foot. And this time we're going to add some external rotation of that leg, which again, not that long ago, I could not do. Again, it was a case of like my brain and my body just didn't see how it was possible. So just really be gentle with yourself. So we're going to slide it out, keeping the hips on the floor here, just so we get a feel of it. Slide it back in. So this is an option. If at some point you're like, I'm gassed, I can't maintain keeping the hips lifted, come to this option with the hips staying down and you just working that friction into the floor and those different angles by sliding it out and sliding it back. Okay. So now we're going to externally rotate. So you're coming to the outside edge of that right heel. Make sure you rotate the foot, the shin, the thigh. Push down, down, down into the outside of that heel. Feel the outer hip stuff kind of light up instead of so much back of the leg. Keep pushing down and drag that slider back. Spin the heel, reset. So we're going to do that again, keeping the pelvis lifted. Slide it out, leg in neutral. Rotate to the outside of that heel, press down, 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 down into that slider and pull it back. Pull, 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 pull. Breath is easy. Pelvis is steady. Spin the heel, release the foot. Okay, bring it back over to the left foot. We're going to do the same thing, keeping the pelvis on the floor. Slide it out. Rotate that foot, shin, thigh. Find the outside edge of that heel. Press down, 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 down. Pull it back up, flexing the knee, flexing the ankle. Roll to center and release. We're going to do that one more time. So know when we move to lifting the hips while doing this movement, you can always come back to this movement, okay? Or you can have the option to just stay lifted and at the length the leg is, just spin the leg externally. Like you've got lots of places that you could work and get the load and the input you need into your tissues. So take that disc back to the right side. We're going to reach from behind the knees down through the heels, push, 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 push. Pull from behind the knees to the pelvis. It's going to start to lift our hips. Be steady here. Find that heel. Push and reach it out. Then spin to the outside edge of that right heel. Keep the hips lifted. Pull it back up. If that pelvis kind of drops to one side, know that you can lower the hips and slide it back in. So maybe you stay lifted for the slide out and then you lower the hips for the slide in. Again, lots of ways you can get variability and input of load into your tissues to progress yourself. One more time, slide it out, hips lifted, if that's where you are, if you're following me, roll to the outside edge, push down, down, down. Only to the point that you breath keeps happening, nice and easy. Draw it back up, spin the heel and release. Okay, bring that slider over to the left foot. We're going to do the same thing here. And know that the side, it's different than the other side. So you may need to do different things. Be open to that. Slide it out long. Externally rotate. Turn the foot, the shin, and the thigh. Find the outside edge of that heel. Press, press, press. Hips stay lifted. Pull. Keep pressing down into that slider. Spin, center, release the hips down. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. Back of the leg stuff, mine at least, is really awake now. So we're going to lift the hips. This is our last one. Slide it out long. Keep the pelvis lifted, extending that femur. Rotate, push through the heel and draw it back in. Nice. Spin it center. Lower the pelvis and just take the legs out long. You'll probably feel a lot of energy, a lot of blood flow. You might windshield wiper the legs. Just feel yourself resting on the floor after really spending a bit of time bringing some tension to the back of the thigh stuff. Okay, so we're going to come to our side and on up to standing. We'll need, we won't need anything actually initially. I'm going to get rid of my yoga mat, I think. Yeah. Because we're going to be upright for a while. Okay. So we're going to place the slider underneath that right foot. And just start to spin it. So the ball of the foot is on the slider, and I'm just going to internally and externally rotate that right leg. I think like we should have the song The Twist playing by Chubby Checker right now. So you might rotate the leg. Maybe you start rotating the rest of the body and just kind of like dance it out here a little bit. So just really moving that femur in the hip socket. Now I start to twist. I'm getting into it. Okay, have fun with it. You can twist the pelvis as well as the leg, your shoulders as well as the pelvis and the leg. Come off the disc and just kind of feel how that feels. You might feel a lot of energy and movement on that side of the body. And then we're going to put the slider back underneath that right foot. And we're going to progress through some movements now. So know that you can always stay at any one of these levels. You don't have to go to the next variation, okay? So all we're going to start by doing is just a little kind of squat and unsquat. Okay, so just a little one. Kind of feel how your hips and your knees and your ankles flex, and you're going to flex the arms and then extend the arms as you stand up. Kind of have this sense of moving at the hip crease and the knee, and just feeling where all three of those joints are moving in this synchrony together, almost like an accordion, as you go down and as you straighten back up, and as you go down and as you straighten back up. And really feel if you can kind of have the movement start at the hip. The next time we go down, we're going to go take it to a single leg. So that right leg on the slider is going to slide out. So now we've just increased the load on that right leg because we've gone from a two-legged squat to a lateral squat, which is a single leg squat. Okay, come back to the two legs, one leg, one leg. Good, just reach it out, slide it in. Feel how it is to load that one leg. Sitting the hips back and down. You might bring a thumb to your ribs and fingers to the front of your pelvis, and kind of going down and up in a range where that relationship between the rib cage and the pelvis stays steady, that you aren't extending the spine. Now we're going to lower down and stay there, isometric single leg squat, and then you're going to reach that other leg on the slider out in all different directions. Feel how each different vector loads that left standing leg a little bit differently. It demands different tissues in that leg to respond. Okay. Again, you could go back to up and down and not stay in this isometric for quite this long. It's up to you. Okay, and you're going to come up to standing. Let's come off the disc, kind of stand, notice how that feels. I need some water. I was likely breathing heavy by this point. I know I was. It's a lot of work. Okay, so we're going to stay with that slider on the right foot and come down into that squat, slide it out. This time with it slid out, we're going to lift that leg. Bring it down, slide it in. Slide it out, lift. Down, slide it in. Now, if you don't have the lateral hip range to do the lift, you could do an option of when you slide it out, then lift the foot off and bring the knee towards your opposite shoulder or in front, and then slide it in. Okay, so you could do the lateral long leg raise, or less load is going to be just bringing the knee in and back out. So you decide, is it lateral or is it knee? You might alternate between the two. Again, stay lower and in that single leg isometric squat on that standing left leg. Things are really working here. So make sure you're sitting the hips back and down so that you feel the butt, the back of the thigh, not just the quad stuff. Then come up and just notice how that feels. You might shake it out a little bit. I need more water before we go over to the other side. Okay, so let's walk a little bit, just see how that feels having done one side. Probably feeling lots of blood flow. Then we're going to put the slider underneath that left ball of the foot, and we're going to twist and shout on this side. So just starting to shift the weight onto that leg and then twisting and shouting that left leg. So again, you can just isolate the movement of the leg, or you can twist and shout the hips and the upper body too. Again, this is where I feel like we need some chubby checker music. And you can twist down and up. Just have fun with it. Okay, now the work begins. So down and up, and taking that disc, a bunch of different vectors. So that standing leg, we're squatting and unsquatting, squatting and unsquatting. Okay, almost think of pulling yourself down to the ground, pushing yourself up. Kind of get all the nooks and crannies that you can with that reaching left leg. Relax the toes. Now we're going to go down and stay down. And again, you're going to reach the slider in and out on all those different vectors. So an isometric single leg squat on that right leg. Okay, you could just reach out and in on one vector. So if you find a juicy one that you feel like that standing leg lights up in all the places that it should, like the whole leg working, know that you can just stay there and reach out on that vector. Okay, come on up standing to see how that feels, and then we're going to move into that reach out and that lift. Okay, and so remember that if you don't have the range or it feels pinchy when you go to lift that leg, that you don't have to. You could bring the knee in towards the chest, right? You've got options. Watch that the option that you choose, make sure you can breathe easy. Okay, that you could smile, that it's fun and feels good. Okay, you're going to do 4 more. Slide it out, lift, come back up. I broke up an older brother tormenting his younger sister. Okay, so I got out of the 4. So finish the one that you're on, walk a little bit, and just notice how that feels. Okay, notice the weight in your feet, notice the energy and aliveness of the legs. Notice your breath again, the quality or texture of your in-breath and of your out-breath. Now we're going to use one of the mini bands. So I'm going to take the more resistant and we're going to bring it around the thighs just above the knees. We're still going to be using the slider. Okay, so the slider is going to come underneath that left foot. So now the band is going to provide more resistance as we slide out, but it's going to help the slide back in. So it's going to be different. than without the slider. So let's just do a couple of squats down and up. Sliders underneath that right foot. Just feel how the band provides a boundary, some containment, helps you know where you are, where you aren't. Okay, and then we're going to squat narrow. Feeling how that's different with the band, and then we're going to squat wide and narrow, and wide and narrow. Sliding out that right foot, sliding it back in. Just feel how with the band, the wide and the narrow squat, how that feels. Shift your weight so you're between both legs as you go wide. Now we're going to stay down in this narrow squat, and we're going to lift the heel of the foot that's on that slider. Okay, so we've still got the foot down for balance, but we've kind of brought more work into that standing leg. So not fully a single leg squat, but kind of more, might be 30, 70, kind of 30 in that high heel leg and 70 in that other leg. So just go down and up a few times, feel how that feels in this narrow squat with one high heel on, and then we're going to take it wide. Shift your weight in between the two legs, and again, just feel how that changes it, having one heel raised. Okay, it changes the load parameters, changes the load input onto that left leg. And then we're going to switch, bring that disc over to the left side. Starting just with those narrow and wide squats. Shift your weight between the legs each time you sit the hips back and down. You don't have to go super deep. Kind of find the range that feels good for you, where you feel the knees, the hips, the ankles, all kind of synchronously moving. And we're going to lift that heel, narrow squat with that high heel under that left heel. So again, how this starts to become a pseudo single leg squat. It changes the load parameters. Changes the tissues that are being loaded on the right side compared to the left side. Feel the tripod of that right foot, then we're going to go wide, center your mass, lift that heel up and down in that wide squat. So again, these ways of varying the load can offload and onload tissues differently within the exercise. Now I want you to think about pressing down. Keep pressing down as you lower the hips down. Keep pressing down as you come back up. See if you can press the feet down, lower down. Keep pressing down as you come up. One more time, press down and lower down. Press and come up. Okay, come off that disc for a second. We're going to come back to that first lateral lunge sequence, this time keeping the band on. So this is where we're going to feel how the band changes the work and creates a new variation in terms of how we're inputting our tissues. So we're going to laterally take it out, and it's about decelerating it as you come back in, but the band kind of helps us come back. But don't let it just snap the leg back, okay? And we have to work a little bit harder on the press out. And again, just go to the depth that you feel you can make it smooth and that you can reverse the movement. Now we're going to come into that isometric squat and reaching that slider in all the ways. Now with the band on, we'll feel how each reach sends a different impulse with the band into that left lateral hip. And again, you could be going up and down with that standing leg if you didn't want to stay in this isometric. Okay, time under tension for that standing leg. Recruiting all those motor units. Now we're going to switch the disc to the left side. Same thing here. So we're going to go out and up. So we're not in an isometric. We're dynamic on that standing leg. Lateral lunge, slide it back. Feel how it's different on this side. Again, you could reach that in all different vectors. I think I decided to stay with this one. I could really feel the work in that right standing leg where I wanted to. And again, then you can reach in all different areas as you hold the isometric, or keep kind of one and just go in and out. It's your practice. You get to decide how you want to load things, what variation, what is needed now. Okay, really working that standing leg, time under tension with that isometric, adding perturbation and balance work with that leg going out and in. I'm going to slip the band off. Maybe just walk a little, see how that feels. We've got one little bit of work before we come down to the floor. So you're going to put the band underneath the ball of that right foot. You're going to take the legs wide and we're going to lunge over to the right. I'm going to hold the band with both hands. Think spine long. So from your sit bones out through the crown of the head, and we're going to double row with those arms. So the elbows pulling back, arcing kind of around and back. Again, think of if I was standing and I put my hand at the crown of your head, you'd reach long and out into my hand and then out through the sit bones. Think about having this relationship between the bottom ribs and the front top of the pelvis. So don't extend through the spine, long spine. Pull and resist the band coming back. So slow and controlled to come back. You decide kind of the tempo you want to take. That's going to again change that time under tension and how the tissues are loaded. We're going to do a few more. Make sure you keep breathing. Now we're going to switch that band over to the left foot. And again, coming into that lateral lunge, we'll set up for that double leg row. So the hips are over to the left and reaching straight back. Long spine. Tripod of both feet on the floor. Kind of connect the bottom ribs to the top of the pelvis, and you're going to pull the elbows back and reach forward. Okay, nice and long through that spine. Keep breathing. We're going to do a few more here. Okay, now we're going to switch to a single arm row. So I'm going to hold the band with my right hand. I'm going to put my left hand on my left thigh. I'm going to row, so now there's more load through that right side. I'm going to row without rotating my torso, that right arm. Think long through the spine. You can use the left hand on that thigh to help steady you. Think breastbone towards the floor, shining towards the floor. And forward slightly. Row, row, row. Arc that elbow around and back. Now you're going to let the band pull you into rotation to the left. Then you're going to turn center. Then you're going to row. Center. Let the band pull you into rotation. Let it protract the shoulder blade. Let it pull the shoulder blade and arm, pulling you into rotation. Row. Let it pull you into rotation. Nice and long, almost like a barbecue spit, right through the crown of the head, down to the tailbone. And take that off, we're going to go to a single leg row back on that right side. I'm dripping with sweat at this point. So find that lateral lunge. Sit the hips back and down. Think nice long spine, chest lifted slightly. holding the band in that left hand, right hand on that thigh. You're going to single arm row. Resist letting the band pull you into rotation. A lot of space between the top of your shoulder and your earlobe here. Feeling the stuff around the bottom and outside edge of that shoulder blade. I'm kind of letting the band pull my palm towards the floor and then turning it slightly as I pull back. Row, then I'm going to let the band rotate me towards that right leg. I'm going to unrotate, I'm going to row. I'm going to let the band pull me into rotation, protracting that shoulder blade. Nice long spine. Crown of the head right down to the sit bones. Couple more. And then take that band off. Grab some water. And notice your breath and the qualities of your breath now. We're done the hard work stuff, and now we're going to start to bring ourselves down and get ourselves ready for Shavasana, which we completely deserve. Yay! Okay, get your yoga mat in place. You're going to need a wall. And you're going to come down onto your back with your feet on the wall, but your hips not super close to the wall, but closer than having your knees and hips at 90. Okay, so we've worked lots of that butt and outer hip stuff and hamstring stuff. So now we're going to stretch it a little bit. I find my body stretching, actually we're going to flow at the wall a little bit first. So using the wall, find kind of a bit of a plank, and you're going to push with the hands, take the hips back. And this is your down dog. I want you to think again like long spine. So from the sitting bones out through the crown of the head. Just feel the weight, the tripod of the foot. Feel your hands on the wall. Breathe here. Imagining that paper lantern for a rib cage. You're going to bend the knees. Shift your weight into your feet. Hands come off the wall. So you're in chair pose. We're going to inhale, take the arms up. Exhale down through center. Inhale the arms up. Exhale the arms through center. Okay, we're going to float that right heel. Inhale the arms up. Exhale. Hands to the wall, step that right foot back. So we're in a lunge here, staggered stance. Find both your legs. Heel might be lifted or released to the ground. Bring your weight onto your legs. We're going to inhale, reach the arms back, turn the fingers away from you, palms out. Breathe here, feeling space across the collarbones, the front of the shoulders, down the arms and out through the fingertips. We're going to turn the palms towards the wall behind us, bend our elbows, and perhaps reach around behind and clasp wrists or forearms or elbows. Reaching those forearms towards the ground. You might move into some spinal extension as you reach the forearms down. You might not. Stay grounded through that front leg. Come back up center. We're going to release the clasp of the arms, reach for that wall again, that lunge. Step that foot forward. Push back. Find our chair again. Inhale up. Exhale down through center. Inhale up. Exhale down through center. Lift that heel, step back that left leg. Find your lunge here. Weight into both legs. You're going to clasp the forearms in front of you this time. Inhale and lift the arms up, possibly to frame the head. Depends on your arm bone length. Otherwise, they might be framed just in front of your head or at your forehead. Okay. Breathe here. Feel the feet. We're going to fold forward, find the wall with the hands, step the feet together, take them back a little ways, press back, find your dog. And we're not going to worry about finding spinal extension. Think about long spine here. Bend the knees, float the heels. Think about reaching the hips forward towards the wall as you pull down the wall without moving the hands. Look up the wall, up dog. Then you're going to push the wall. Take the hips back. Drop the heels, down dog. Nice long spine here. Take a couple of breaths here. Again, don't worry about trying to extend the spine. Find a long spine. We're going to extend the spine in our up dog. So we're going to slowly rock the weight to the ball of the foot, lift the heels, bend the knees, wave the pelvis forward towards the wall as you straighten the legs and reach the head towards the ceiling, pulling the hands down the wall, finding that spinal extension. You might think about kind of spinning the heels towards one another and then spinning them out as you shift the hips back to downward dog. Nice long spine. Couple breaths here. Relax the feet. Feel the tripod of that foot. And then shifting the weight onto that right leg, we're going to step, or on the left leg, step the right leg back. You can keep that right heel lifted. We're going to shift the right hand to the center of the wall. And then we're going to take the left hand along the inside of that right wrist, opening up, lifted heel, rotated lunge, or you can straighten that left knee if you want and take it into a revolved triangle with a floating heel. Okay, just feel the reach out through each of the limbs. Reach that arm overhead, left hand finds the wall again, stepping the feet together, shifting the weight into the right foot, stepping the left foot back, letting that heel float. Left hand comes to the center of the wall. We're going to reach that right arm across the chest, open up. You could stay in this revolved lunge, or you can straighten that right leg, lifted heel, revolved triangle. Okay, breathe here. Reaching that right hand overhead, bringing it to the wall. Stepping the feet together, shifting the hips back, keeping the knees bent, lowering the hands to the floor. Inhale, let the belly rest on the thighs. And then as you exhale, rolling it up nice and slow, vertebra by vertebra. Now we're going to make our way to the floor. Close enough to the wall that you can bring the feet onto the wall. The knees not quite at 90, but with the hips at 90. Okay, we'll do some stretches here before we settle into Shavasana. So get yourself kind of close enough to the wall, but not too close. And then we're going to bring our right ankle over our left knee, bringing it into some hip flexion and external rotation. And then you might want to wiggle closer to the wall, or you could take that left foot off the wall, bringing that right hip into a bit more external rotation, feeling a stretch on all of that outer hip butt stuff on the right. Just breathing here. If you want to get closer to the wall so that your foot can stay on the wall, will you bring that right hip into the amount of flexion that you want? You can do that. Okay, you might place a hand on that knee and apply a little external load in terms of pressing that knee out. You might not. Just breathing here. Might reach the arms up overhead, just feeling heavy through the rib cage. You're taking the arms to a goal post. Just feeling heavy across those back ribs, shoulders, the weight of the head on the floor. Each exhale, a sense of settling. And you're going to bring that left foot across towards the right sit bone. Kind of cross the legs over one another and thread the knees on top of one another. And this bit of a twist or eagle legs. And then you might kind of reach down with that right hand towards the left foot. Side bending to the right a little bit and pulling on the foot pushing into the hand, kind of opening up through the front of that left hip a little bit more. Length through that left side of the body, armpit down to that left knee. Just breathing here. Again, a sense of settling with each exhale. And wiggle your way back to center. Unthread the legs. Slide them up the wall. And this time we're going to cross the left ankle over the right. And again, sliding that right foot down the wall, bringing that left hip into as much flexion and external rotation as you want to get the sensation you want on the outside of that hip and butt stuff. Arms could rest at your side. You could draw the foot off the wall. Maybe you want to reach the arms through and hug that thigh in, which would be an option. I'm going to just wiggle and get close enough to the wall that I don't have to use my arms because I want to take them up overhead again. But know that you could thread the arms through, hugging the legs into the chest. That might feel nice for you. Just feel those upper back ribs and shoulders heavy on the floor. And then we're going to bring that right heel across towards the left sitting bone and the left foot down towards the outside of that right sitting bone and kind of thread the thighs on top of one another, the knees stack. This kind of cow face legs at the wall. And then you're going to reach down with the left hand towards that right foot. Just kind of wiggle yourself into that bit of a side bend. You might reach that right hand up overhead, getting length from that armpit all the way down to that knee. Just breathing here. And unside bend, untwist. And you're going to wiggle up your mat. Get whatever you need to settle into Shavasana. Because I'm set up with the feet towards the wall, I'm actually going to wiggle myself so that my feet and tripods of my feet stand on the wall. I find this type of Shavasana really grounding and anchoring and settling for me. So you might want to try it if you haven't before or haven't for a while. And if you don't have a wall, it could be the side of an ottoman, or if your couch goes all the way to the floor. And just let yourself settle here into Shavasana. Got a nice long 7-minute Shavasana. And you could stay longer if you want. And you might invite back that attention of the rib cage being the paper lantern. And as you rest here, you're just going to breathe the breath that is 3-dimensionally in that paper lantern. I'm going to say thank you for practicing with me, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Peace.